I had just turned 5 years old when my mother was flattened by a truck. A wayward rock on the pavement sent me flying over the handlebars of my newly gifted red, glittery bicycle. Even the stabilizers could not save me from the crash. As I toppled over and scraped my exposed skin, raw and bloody, the poor bicycle ran across the road before coming to a stop. My mother saw the whole event from where she watched from on our porch. While I wailed, she went over to retrieve the bicycle. The driver from the hulking truck suffered from narcolepsy, but had not informed his employer. I stopped crying when I was forced to stare at the flattened corpse of her. The bicycle she had been carrying was crumpled and embedded into the flesh of her destroyed center mass. When I was 10 years old, there was a pair of siblings that enjoyed tormenting me. Even now, I do not understand why I became the target of their cruel acts. In the quiet alley on a sunny afternoon, they beat me bloody. They were 5 years older than me, and I was certain that they intended to kill me this time. My pleading and cries did not halt their kicks and punches, but the shrill ringing of a bicycle bell did. It stood there as it had on my birthday morning, catching the golden sunlight across its sparkling body. The thing moved into the alley on its own, the pedals and wheels turning as if by an invisible child. Both the tormented siblings simply stood and watched as the bicycle advanced, stupefied by the mystical sight. Then the chains had snapped from the bicycle's sides and snatched around the siblings' ankles. Together they were pulled toward the red, glittering thing. They reached for me, their eyes full of fear, as if they expected me to help them. Pinning them down, the bicycle mounted one, then the other, and spun its front wheel into the back of my bully's head. The whirlwind speed of the wheel carved their skull apart and splattered gore across the alley wall and floors. After they died their horrible deaths, I got up and walked around their corpses, knowing somehow that the bicycle would not harm me. It carried on much the same. My stepmother was a drunk who beat on my dad but doted on me with a fascinating desperation. That developed into a terrifying obsession. She waited until I was barely a man before trying to take me for herself. My small father was out of town on business when I returned from school to find 4 empty wine bottles on the kitchen table. The woman lay waiting for me in my bed. I ran, but she caught up with me and pressed her putrid lips against mine. Then, from just behind the front door came the ringing of a bicycle bell. It dragged the horrible woman out by her ankles, and I never saw her again. At college, I had a girlfriend who cheated on me with a close friend. It was a bitter experience to live through, but it was not world-ending. The bicycle disagreed. The newscasters couldn't get enough of the sight of their 2 disemboweled bodies hanging from the football goalposts. The police asked me questions, but my alibi was watertight. They asked me who I thought could have done this, and I did not explain who I knew for certain had done it. Then, my poor roommate pulled a harmless prank involving feathers and tape. I had even found it funny. He was found splattered across the hallway. A girl at a coffee shop was clearly having a bad day and snapped a harsh remark at me. I felt no resentment toward her and stared at the TV screen when it was announced that her top half and lower half were found in 2 different towns. I dropped out of college and took up a job in a convenience store. That was a terrible idea. Members of the public would vent their frustrations at me. Drunks would try and take things without paying and such. People stopped coming when the bodies started piling up, and the store shut down. It would have been easy to turn toward booze, but my deceased stepmother put me off the stuff for life. Instead, I drifted between jobs, but the only kind I could get involved the general public in some capacity. A bumped shoulder was enough to warrant evisceration. Eventually, I simply stayed shut in my crap accommodation and refused to go outside. Money dwindled, so did food. Nearing the end of my resources, there was a ringing from outside my door. There were 2 plastic bags sitting there, one filled with cash and the other with food. I could make out faint bicycle tracks on the hallway carpet. Now I stay indoors, occupying myself with electronic devices and books. I pay my rent on time, and food shows up at my door when I need it. It's safer this way, for everyone. I suppose that is what my mother would have wanted.